Every empath reaches a breaking point. Years of absorbing pain, fixing chaos, and loving people who only take. Eventually, something inside them snaps. Not in rage, but in clarity. The day the empath snaps isn't loud. It's silent, powerful, and irreversible. It's the day they stop explaining their worth, stop rescuing the ungrateful, and stop bleeding for those who never intended to heal. This is the moment their empathy transforms into awareness. They realize that compassion without boundaries is self-destruction disguised as kindness. That saving everyone else means losing yourself first. And when that illusion finally dies, the empath is reborn, not softer, but sharper. The world doesn't fear the empath who cries. It fears the empath who no longer reacts. In this video, we'll uncover what truly happens the day the empath snaps. The inner transformation that turns pain into power, silence into strength, and compassion into clarity. Subscribe to join the Guru Clan, a brotherhood of awakened souls mastering energy, discipline, and emotional control. 1. The kindness they abuse becomes the fire that burns them. Empaths don't break suddenly. They erode quietly, one disappointment at a time. One betrayal disguised as friendship. One manipulation masked as love. For years, they forgive what shouldn't be forgiven and tolerate what shouldn't be tolerated. Their compassion becomes a currency everyone spends until one day the balance runs dry. That's the day the empath snaps. It doesn't happen in anger. It happens in awakening. They realize their kindness has been weaponized against them, that their giving nature became an open door for those who only knew how to take. And in that realization, something ancient stirs within them, self-respect. The same heart that once absorbed everyone's pain begins to reject it. The empath's silence becomes their fire. It's not revenge, it's a recalibration of energy. They stop absorbing and start observing. They no longer rescue people from the consequences of their own choices. They stop explaining their worth to those who were never listening. The world that once fed on their softness begins to feel the heat of their absence. What most people never understand is that empaths aren't weak. They're resilient to the point of self-destruction. They endure long past reason, hoping love can heal what awareness should have ended. They see the good in others even when it costs them their peace. But once that faith collapses, once they realize not everyone deserves their light, their entire energy shifts. The empath who once bent now stands unmovable. Their yes becomes sacred. Their boundaries become walls. Their compassion transforms into discernment, a refined form of love that no longer sacrifices itself for validation. Those who drained them start to panic. They sense the change. They send messages, make promises, pretend to care again, but it's too late. The empath has seen the truth. The same eyes that once looked with innocence now see through everything. Their silence is no longer submission, it's sovereignty. The fire they carry now is not meant to destroy others. It's meant to burn away everything false. Every fake friend, every manipulator, every energy thief. What remains after the fire is pure peace, solitude, strength. The empath learns that love without boundaries isn't love. It's enslavement. And when they finally stop apologizing for protecting their energy, they evolve into something rare. An empath with armor, still compassionate, but no longer compliant. Still loving, but no longer naive. Still gentle, but no longer accessible to those who misuse softness as an entry point. The irony is beautiful. The same kindness that once made them a target now makes them untouchable. Because true empathy isn't about absorbing pain. It's about transforming it. The ones who abused their kindness will one day remember the warmth they lost and realize too late that the fire they lit inside the empath doesn't burn for them anymore. The empath doesn't seek revenge. They simply glow in a way that reminds everyone who took them for granted that their love was never weakness. It was power disguised as mercy. 2. Empaths don't explode, they evolve. When an empath finally snaps, it's not a scene. There are no broken plates, no screaming matches, no revenge. It's quiet, unervingly quiet. Because when an empath reaches their limit, they don't explode outward. They implode inward. They take all the energy they've been pouring into others and redirect it toward themselves. What looks like withdrawal is actually evolution. For years, empaths give endlessly. Time, energy, forgiveness, understanding. They absorb chaos and call it compassion. They believe that healing others is their purpose, not realizing it's slowly killing them. But then something shifts. A single moment of clarity breaks through, a final betrayal, a pattern recognized, a truth too loud to ignore. They stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "Why am I still here?" That's when everything changes. The empath doesn't become cold. They become conscious. They stop fighting to be understood and start valuing being at peace. They no longer chase closure, explanations, or apologies. They finally understand that silence is its own answer, and distance is its own healing. People mistake their withdrawal for weakness, but it's actually the purest form of power. The empath doesn't need to retaliate because they've transcended the game entirely. They no longer seek validation from the same hands that broke them. They stop explaining their boundaries. They simply enforce them. This evolution is internal first. The empath's nervous system, once overstimulated by constant emotional noise, begins to recalibrate. Their body starts to relax, their mind quiets, and their soul exhales for the first time in years. The exhaustion that once felt eternal turns into restoration. The peace they used to give others finally returns home. But evolution always comes with loss. The empath must mourn their old self, the version that tolerated too much, forgave too quickly, and loved without limits. They realize that empathy without self-awareness is self-betrayal. That unconditional love without boundaries is not holiness, it's self-harm. And so they shed it, layer by layer, like armor forged in pain. As they evolve, their energy shifts. The same people who once fed on their kindness begin to sense the change. The empath's energy no longer leaks, it radiates. Their presence becomes different, calmer, grounded, untouchable. They don't argue. They don't chase. They don't explain. Their peace becomes intimidating. And that's what true evolution looks like. Not louder, but lighter. Not softer, but sharper. Empaths who evolve learn that love doesn't always mean saying yes. Sometimes love means walking away. Sometimes it means silence instead of sympathy. Sometimes it means choosing your own healing over someone else's comfort. This is not bitterness, it's balance. The evolved empath doesn't lose their ability to care. They simply learn that not everyone deserves access to that care. Their compassion becomes selective. their energy intentional. They no longer confuse attachment with love, guilt with responsibility, or empathy with servitude. When an empath snaps, the world expects destruction, but what emerges instead is rebirth. They become something refined, a soul that still feels deeply, but no longer bleeds for the unworthy. They stop reacting to pain and start responding to truth. They stop seeking peace in others and start embodying it. That is how empaths rise, not in fury, but in evolution. Not by burning others, but by finally stepping into their own light. 3. Love without boundaries creates monsters. Empaths often learn this truth the hardest way possible. The love they give without limits becomes the very thing that destroys them. What begins as compassion turns into exhaustion. What starts as healing becomes enabling. By trying to save everyone, they forget to save themselves. Unconditional love sounds noble, even divine, but without discipline, it's chaos disguised as care. When love has no boundary, it stops being love and becomes permission. Permission for others to take without giving, to wound without consequence, to depend without growing. And the empath, unaware at first, mistakes this one-sided devotion for strength. They call it loyalty. They call it sacrifice. They call it purpose. But in truth, it's self-betrayal wrapped in virtue. Every manipulator, narcissist, and energy thief recognizes this pattern long before the empath does. They can smell that unguarded compassion, the willingness to forgive endlessly, to give second chances to those who never deserved a first. They feed on that purity, twisting it into control. Each apology becomes a leash. Each tear becomes a trap. Each excuse from the empath becomes another sip of energy for those addicted to power. The empath keeps loving harder, believing that love can cure selfishness, that patience can melt cruelty, that empathy can awaken conscience. But monsters don't change when you love them. They evolve to exploit that love more efficiently. The more you give, the more they take. The more you bend, the more they demand. Until one day, you wake up empty, drained, numb, and invisible in a life you built around someone else's comfort. That's when clarity finally arrives, not as rage, but as revelation. You realize that unconditional love without boundaries isn't holy, it's harmful. You understand that true love includes the word no. That compassion without accountability is corruption. And the moment you draw the line, the monsters reveal themselves. When you stop feeding them, they panic. When you stop explaining, they lash out. When you stop caring, they crumble, because their power was never real. It existed only as long as you kept giving it away. Your boundaries become their famine. Your silence becomes their mirror. And in that reflection, they finally see themselves hollow, hungry, dependent. Empaths who awaken to this truth don't become bitter, they become balanced. They learn that protecting their energy isn't selfish, it's sacred. They start loving with awareness, not obligation. They stop rescuing and start respecting themselves first. Their kindness becomes structured. Their giving becomes intentional. They love deeply, but wisely. And that's when their energy changes completely. They no longer attract parasites. They attract peers. They no longer serve the ungrateful. They inspire the awakened. They no longer pour from an empty cup. They guard the well. Love with boundaries doesn't repel the right people. It filters out the wrong ones. The awakened empath learns that real compassion uplifts both souls, not just one. That love isn't proven through pain, but through peace. So when the empath finally draws the line, it's not cruelty, it's correction. The energy vampires starve, the manipulators fade, and the empath at last breathes. Because love without boundaries may create monsters, but love with awareness creates freedom. 4. Their absence becomes their revenge. Empaths never have to seek revenge, their absence does it for them. When they finally walk away, they take with them something far more valuable than presence. They take peace. And soon, the people who drained them realize what they lost. Because when the empath disappears, their energy is missed like oxygen. For so long, the empath was the calm in everyone's chaos, the light in their darkness, the listener when no one else cared. Their energy held spaces together, kept relationships alive, and gave meaning to moments that would have otherwise crumbled. But the truth is, no one notices the air they breathe until it's gone. The empath leaves quietly, without announcement or drama. One day they just stop answering calls, stop over-explaining, stop trying to fix what was never theirs to heal. Their silence replaces their effort, and that silence echoes louder than any argument ever could. Those who once dismissed their kindness begin to feel the void they left behind, a void that no new distraction can fill. People start to realize that the peace they took for granted was the source of their own balance. The empath wasn't just kind, they were stabilizing. Their calm presence absorbed tension, softened conflict, and brought harmony to chaos. When that energy vanishes, the imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. The manipulators who fed on their compassion start to crumble without it. They try to find another empath to replace what they lost, but they never can, because genuine energy cannot be replicated. The irony is poetic. The same people who once called the empath too sensitive, too emotional, or too nice, now miss the warmth they mocked. They begin to understand that peace was never weakness, it was power in disguise. And that power was holding their entire world together. The empath doesn't celebrate their suffering. They've simply outgrown it. They no longer need revenge because indifference is far more effective. They don't watch to see if karma arrives. They are the karma. Their absence forces others to face themselves, without the buffer of forgiveness, without the shield of empathy. The manipulative must finally meet their own energy, raw, unfiltered, and uncomfortable. When an empath withdraws, it's not punishment, it's protection. It's an energetic correction, the universe rebalancing itself. Those who took without gratitude are left in scarcity. Those who gave without awareness are left with understanding. And in that cycle, justice unfolds naturally. The empath doesn't return. Once they've tasted peace, chaos no longer tempts them. They learn that their presence is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. They realize that walking away isn't loss, it's liberation. They no longer chase being understood or appreciated. They understand themselves, and that's enough. The most powerful thing an empath can ever do is disappear from places where their light isn't valued, because their energy is not meant to be consumed. It's meant to be felt by those who can honor it. And so, when the empath finally leaves, the world they once supported begins to tremble. The silence they leave behind teaches louder than their words ever did. And those who once drained their energy begin to suffocate on the absence of it. That's not cruelty, it's consequence. Because peace, once dismissed, always becomes the most haunting form of power. 5. The rebirth of the empath is ruthless. When the empath heals, something extraordinary happens. They stop serving from pain and start leading from power. The same energy that once bent for everyone now stands tall. The same heart that once absorbed chaos now radiates control. Their rebirth isn't soft or sentimental. It's ruthless in its clarity. The healed empath no longer tries to save anyone. They've learned the cost of bleeding for the ungrateful. Their compassion is still deep, but it's disciplined. They love without attachment, give without depletion, and walk away without guilt. Every boundary they once feared to enforce now stands like armor. What once made them fragile now makes them fearless. This is not the empath the world remembers. This is their evolution. They've seen too much, felt too deeply, survived too quietly. They know how darkness moves because they've danced in it. Now they use that understanding as power. They can read a room in seconds, sense energy before words are spoken, and detach the moment they feel dishonesty. They're not cold, they're calibrated. The healed empath doesn't seek validation anymore. They don't explain their choices or justify their distance. Their peace is non-negotiable. Their solitude is sacred. They've realized that leadership isn't about control. It's about frequency. And their frequency has become untouchable. Those who once manipulated them now feel uncomfortable in their presence. Their calm becomes unsettling because it cannot be influenced. The world that once drained them now fears them, not because they've become cruel, but because they've become immune. Empaths who've healed carry an aura that commands respect without demand. Their silence intimidates, their boundaries confuse, and their composure exposes every manipulator who tries to test them. The rebirth of the empath isn't about revenge. It's about transformation. They no longer respond to energy that doesn't match theirs. They no longer chase closure. They create it. They don't react. They observe. They don't collapse in pain. They rise through it. They've outgrown the need to be liked, and that detachment makes them unstoppable. Now they lead, not through dominance, but through example. Their strength isn't loud, it's magnetic. Their presence speaks in frequencies the broken can't yet understand. They attract not because they seek, but because they are. And this new version of the empath is ruthless, not in cruelty, but in truth. They cut through deception with precision. They recognize manipulation instantly. They walk away from anything that disturbs their energy, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. Their love has evolved from rescue to resonance. They no longer save people. They awaken them. The world doesn't know what to do with a healed empath. You can't guilt them. You can't use them. You can't break them. Their energy, once scattered in everyone else's healing, has returned home, focused, powerful, sovereign. That's what makes their rebirth so terrifying to those who once fed on their light. Because when an empath reclaims themselves, the balance of power shifts. They become mirrors that reflect truth, teachers who never preach, and warriors who fight no one, yet conquer everything. They are no longer the empath who absorbs pain. They are the empath who transforms it. Unshakable, unreadable, untouchable. That's not coldness. That's mastery. When the empath snaps, it isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's the moment innocence becomes awareness and softness becomes strength. The breaking point is not their downfall, it's their awakening. Every wound becomes wisdom. Every betrayal becomes fuel. Every silence becomes sovereignty. The world often mistakes the empath's compassion for weakness. They underestimate the quiet ones, the healers, the listeners, the givers. But when an empath finally learns to protect their energy, to love without losing themselves, they become one of the most powerful forces alive. Their calm commands more respect than anger ever could. The empath's evolution is sacred. The transformation from servant to sovereign, from victim to visionary. They no longer move from emotion. They move from awareness. They no longer seek peace in others. They are the peace. The same heart that once broke for others now beats for purpose. And the ones who took them for granted will never forget what it felt like to lose their light. Because when an empath walks away, they don't just leave, they elevate. Subscribe to join the Guru Clan, a brotherhood of awakened minds mastering awareness, energy, and emotional strength. Comment below. Have you reached your breaking point? The moment your empathy became power?